Right, more than 40 state attorneys general have sued Meta, the parent company of both Facebook and Instagram, for intentionally designing and deploying addictive features to its platforms that put youth at risk. Now, the harmful impact of these platforms on children and teens can include increased levels of depression and anxiety, increased hyperactivity, lack of sleep, and other mental health concerns. Now, did Meta lean into addicting children to its platforms while misleading the public about such harms? Joining me now to discuss this and more is Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. General Bailey, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you for having me on.
I want to get to this, and then I want to talk about the lawsuit, the letter that the attorneys general, I think about 18 or 19 of you, have sent to the Biden administration regarding Christian foster care families that, under a new rule being proposed by the Biden administration, would essentially be kept out of the foster care business.
Yeah, and both issues are about protecting children. And when it comes to the lawsuit against Meta, this is an important piece of litigation. We've exposed the manipulative practices of the Meta platform that designed features in order to make kids addicted. And lo and behold, screen time is bad for kids. And I think one of the problems here is that Meta has hidden their head in the sand and refused to obtain data or scientific studies to measure the negative, harmful impacts on kids, and deprived the public of access to that information. But that's in keeping with their practices. Look, when they were manipulating their platform to make kids more addicted, they were doing it to obtain personal information to maximize their profits, and it's putting kids at risk.
They knew this information internally, documents that reveal that they knew exactly what they were doing. And there are negative physical, psychological consequences that have come from this.
Yeah, absolutely. The mental and emotional impact of the addictive features of big tech social media platforms, specifically Meta in this instance, have been immediately impactful on children in a harmful way. And it violates the consumer protection laws of the state of Missouri when the platform is depriving parents of access to information necessary upon which to make good decisions about the health and safety of their children, when they're fraudulently attempting to make the kids addicted to the platform. That violates the law, and we're going to hold them accountable.
What's quite significant about this is that I think last month when it was first filed, it was about 32 states. Now we're up to over 40. This is a bipartisan effort. I mean, you've got Democrats, Republicans from, blue states, red states joining together in this effort to hold Meta accountable.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, child safety should be a bipartisan issue. I'm proud to have joined with colleagues, like-minded colleagues in other states that want to put the safety of children first and hold wrongdoers in the big tech social media world accountable. And certainly, we've seen a repeated pattern of behavior from Meta, not only to abuse children in this context and to deprive the public of access to information, but to violate our constitutional rights to free speech by, acquiescing to government censorship demands. So we have repeated instances of bad behavior here. And again, this is a full court press, all hands on deck approach to make sure we're holding this monolithic monopoly accountable.
So where does this go? As I said, the suit was filed last month. What's the status? What are the next steps?
Well, this is a 233-page complaint with detailed facts and allegations. And I'm here to tell you, we've got the evidence to back up the allegations, and we'll continue to pursue additional evidence through the tools of formal discovery. And we'll eventually likely file an amended petition based on additional allegations that we'll uncover. But right now we're in court and we want an injunction. We want the court to order Meta to stop using their features in such a way to make kids addicted, stop luring kids into these addictive features, and to post parental consent so that kids under 13, their parents know what these features, what's involved in these features, and can make decisions to protect the kids. We also think there should be some monetary compensation for the victims. We've got to build a fund to study this problem, figure out how bad it is, the negative emotional and mental impacts on kids, and make sure that they're treated and taken care of in the aftermath of this fraudulent behavior.
So I know this is focused on children who are vulnerable and they're being manipulated here, but this goes beyond the algorithms. The way this is set up, it affects more than children, does it not?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Look, if it's intentionally designed to be addictive for children, one can certainly infer that they're doing the same thing to make it more addicted to adults as well. And I think you see the increased frequency that all people of all ages are spending on their addicted to these platforms on the screen. And so it's important to start unraveling this. Again, I think that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act has been misinterpreted by the courts and has allowed this dangerous monopoly in big tech social media to exist. And this is just one more line of effort to dismantle that and right the wrongs of the past.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of big tobacco. When they knew that nicotine, their product, was harmful, but they kept selling it, peddling it, and eventually they came tumbling down.
That's right. In the 1990s, there was evidence uncovered through a lawsuit similar to this that big tobacco was specifically targeting children and peddling an addictive product to children to the harm of children, and then hiding the science and medicine that would have proven these harms. And I think this case is going to be very similar. And I think history will look back on this moment in time and celebrate that we took a stand to protect children against this pernicious behavior.
Very quickly, speaking of children, as I mentioned at the opening, that you, along with about 18 other attorneys general, have sent a letter to the Biden administration regarding this proposed rule on foster care families, essentially targeting Christian foster families. What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, we can't let Biden relegate Christian families to second-class citizen status. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to demand that if you want to be a foster placement and provide a loving home for a kid who's suffering from abuse and neglect and open your doors to that home, you've got to swear an oath of allegiance to a radical transgender ideology and reject your faith and your beliefs. And that's unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment protection for religious freedom. And that's what we're fighting against. There are 13,000 kids in Missouri foster care that need loving homes. Why is President Biden trying to exclude so many of these Christian families from opening their doors to these kids in need?
Yeah, it's clearly not about the children. General Bailey, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for covering these important stories and for having me on.
Absolutely.